Bonjour, bonjour les amis, it's been a while. This is Véro reporting from the Loire Valley, the beautiful Loire Valley on a gorgeous Sunday morning. I thought I'd share a few vibes with you so you can enjoy what I'm seeing. For those of you who've been following me for a while, you know where I'm standing. I am on the famous Pont de Pierre, Stone Bridge, or Wilson Bridge, as it is known. And we are right above the Loire River. Bonjour Bruce, bonjour les amis. Good to see you here. It's very early for most of our friends who are still sleeping, but I figured they would catch the replay. In the distance here you see gorgeous Saint-Gatien Cathedral in the old town, and on the right hand side the library. That big building is the library, and across from us here is the city of Tours, and on the other side of the bridge, bonjour Denise, all my friends are here. On the other side is Tours Nord, the northern section of Tours, where I took a hike with a friend last night. It was absolutely beautiful. Oh, I'm sorry to hear it's raining in Nice. You would not expect that. I'm not sure the weather is going to hold up here in the Loire Valley, but it's been gorgeous this week. We've had an exceptional week. Temps were a little chilly in the morning, but it was absolutely beautiful during the day. So today in Tours, it's not a usual Sunday. Sundays tend to be pretty quiet outside Paris, as you know, in most French cities and smaller towns especially. But today is pretty special. Today the city of Tours is welcoming a very famous cycling race. It's known as Paris-Tours, from Paris to Tours, and it's been around since the Belle Époque, late 19th century. It's one of the oldest. I believe this is the 116th anniversary of this race, and it will be arriving in Tours later today, early afternoon. It's about noon now, in case you're watching from outside France. Just one last peek at the glorious Loire River. It's been very dry this summer. We've had water restrictions. The Loire levels are still pretty low, but it's hanging in there. And in fact, the little boat you see here on the left-hand side has been working hard all week to ensure that the flat-bottom boats, like the ones you see here on the right-hand side, they're known as gabarres, though here in Tours they also have sails. These boats were having a really hard time going under the bridge because the water was so shallow. You can see some of the rocks here on the left-hand side. So they've been working all week, that little boat and a team, at removing some of the larger rocks that were obstructing one of the arches of the bridge, and they recreated a passage for the boats, which is great. So it's resting now, but it's been really working hard, this little boat you see there in the distance. So let's walk towards Tours, the center of town. I'm not going to be on for a very long time because I have to go home and finish packing my bag. I'll be traveling later today. But I thought this was too pretty not to share. It's been a few months since I live streamed from Tours, I think. When I reach the end of the bridge in a few seconds, I will look back so you can enjoy the lovely pavois, those big flags that you see, those colorful flags. This was a special exhibit that we've enjoyed all summer. The artist has put his own take on a lot of famous movies, and in particular famous movie posters. And I love when I hear them flap in the wind like this. This is very pretty and cheerful too. Lots of color. It's going to get louder as I get closer to that section. You can hear people talking in microphones. It reminds me of when the Tour de France arrived here in July of 2021, and I filmed it. If you want to catch those replays, they're on my YouTube channel, France with Véro. It was quite lively. Today's a little quieter because the race is arriving on the other side of the Rue Nationale, that big street ahead of us. So on this side, they're having all sorts of activities and workshops dedicated to bicycles. And that's what you hear in the background. La Petite Reine, the bicycle, as it is known, the Little Queen, it's an old-fashioned name for it, is very popular in many French cities now, especially Tours, and city halls are trying to, mayors are trying to encourage people to ride bikes more and more. So look at this pretty sight of the bridge. I'm going to try and step here before the tram arrives. So you have a view of the bridge. Isn't that pretty? Bonjour Tony, bonjour friends. Thank you for joining me today. This is quite impromptu. Isn't that pretty? Oh, and I hear the tram. It's got to be behind me. There it comes. It's warning people to stay out of the way. Our lovely tram. Only one line so far, but they're working on number 2 and 3. They can't seem to agree on where they should go. But this one here is very long and really helps us go from the northern to the southern sections of Tours. Quite efficient. All right, so like I said, here is some advertising for someone who comes and fixes your bicycle at home. So this is going to get really lively this afternoon. They're selling some bikes here. But the race will arrive at the end of that street, La Rue Nationale. I went there this morning and I took a few photos. I'll share them on Instagram in a story later when I'm on the train. So this should really pick up in less than 2 hours because it's almost noon now. I'm going to walk through here so you can see. So if you like bikes, Tours is a great place to be today. Like I said, the famous cycling race Paris Tours has been around since 1896, I believe. It's in its 116th year. Oh, look at these contraptions. That looks like fun. That I could handle. Oh, an orange one. This one has my name on it. Maybe I should add it to my Christmas list. What do you think?
N'hésitez pas à prendre contact avec eux. Ils sont présents sur notre village et ils vous proposent ce service qui peut être bien utile.
Tous à vélo, the sign says. Tous à vélo. Let's all ride bikes. Now, if you recall, last time I stood here in the summer, we looked down at the Guinguettes, the largest of the Guinguettes, those fun places we have along the Loire in the summer. So you can see it's all gone now. They closed at the end of September. And all of that is going to go pretty soon. So they closed a couple weeks ago, maybe less than 2 weeks ago. And so all of that is going to be taken away and will not reappear until next season. Quite efficient. Hey Sharon, bonjour, bonjour. And again, the Pont Wilson where I was standing earlier. Always happy to share a glimpse of my city. Sharon, always happy. So I think what I'll do, since it's almost noon and I'm not in a huge rush to head back, is I'm going to head to La Place Plumereau, La Place Plume, and sit down at a terrace somewhere and just have coffee. It's a lovely stroll along these, under these trees. And just have a coffee. It will be fun. And then I'll head home to finish packing and have lunch before heading to the train station for a vacation. I'm actually taking a few days off to visit my son in the United States. It's been a while. It's been a while since I last saw him, and it's been a while since my last vacation as well, in September last year. not as loud around here, thank goodness. We have a statue here of a local celebrity, one of many writers who lived in these parts back in the day. This is François Rabelais. You may know him as the inventor of the character Gargantua, the friendly giant in the 16th century. And let's see, if you'd like to join me for a few more minutes, I'm going to walk us into the old town. Haha, yes, Denise, I might go to Le Vieux Murier, though I'm not sure it's open. I think it opens only in the afternoon on Sundays. So I will find a place to sit, that's not a problem. So Denise was here this week. I met several patrons actually this week. It was lovely. I led tours for them through Tours and the historic centers of Tours. We had a lovely time. So I was lucky to have several patrons in the city visiting. And we had a great time. And Denise was one of them. Jim, Andrea, Annette were also here, if you watch this later, friends. And I believe Annette is still in town. So as you get closer to the part of town known as Le Vieux Tours, you start seeing a lot more of the half-timbered homes, because this section of the city fortunately was not impacted by the fires, the big fire in June of 1940 at the start of World War II and the German occupation here. But everything that's left of here burned down to the ground. We talked about that during the tours this week. So you can see it's very quiet around here. It's Sunday after all. And French life does slow down on Sundays. When I led Rick Steves tours this season, I finished my last Rick Steves tour on September 30th. It was always interesting to travel around France with North American travelers and to see their surprised faces when we crossed very quiet villages, especially on Sundays. They're not used to this. So we reach here a street called La Rue du Commerce, Commerce Street. And typically, especially at the end of the day, it's very, very busy because there are lots of bars, lots of eateries for students. We have over 30,000 students in Tours. About 15% of those are from outside France. So it's quite a lively scene, this street, during the week. If you come here anytime after 5 p.m., there are tables out. Students are starting to enjoy a drink at the end of the day. And at night it's very, very lively as well. So we are here in the neighborhood known as the Old Tours, Le Vieux Tours, which, if you've taken tours with me in person or virtually, you know this is not actually the oldest part of the city, but it is still referred as Le Vieux Tours. I saw yesterday that they've already put up the Christmas lights, so they won't. I don't think they'll turn them on anytime soon, but they're already up there. I see them. Yes, it looks very quiet. I like Tours when it's quiet. I like Tours early in the morning, and I like Tours on Sundays. You can find people if you look for them, but if you want peace and quiet, you can also find it, and that's great. You see how all the bars, you see how they lock up all the chairs and tables when they don't open on Sundays. And these were probably open very, very late at night. But now, of course, it's a different scene. It's Sunday morning. Yes, exactly, MJ. It's tranquil. And it's nice that you can have that here. And here we are at the famous Place Plumereau, La Place Plume for locals, which was voted in 2014 the most beautiful square in France to enjoy an apéro. And you can see that it's quieter, but it's still lively. There are people around. Some of the restaurants are open. And they'll be very busy at lunchtime because right here is everything set up for lunch, you can see. But a lot of tourists are gone now, and so the French tend to eat later. So typically they don't show up at the restaurant until 1. This is when it'll get really busy. That's one of my favorite houses or buildings along the Place Plumereau. Dates back to the mid-19th century. It's a beautiful building inspired by the Italian Renaissance. And here is, for those of you watching who met me there this week, Le Vieux Mûrier, the Old Mulberry Tree, which is an institution in town. And it will open this afternoon and tonight, as will Chez Madi here. They do great tapas in the evenings. Yeah, you might have seen me on the bridge a few minutes ago. I was just there. I want to show you the beautiful houses we have here, but the sun is facing us, so it's not ideal. Here they are, the famous houses. They all date back to the late 15th, early 16th century. Maybe if I cross here, I can show them better from the other side. And then I'll wrap up, sit down at one of these tables and enjoy un café noisette, my favorite in the morning. Let's see, if I do this, you should be able to see a little better. Voila, that did it. Haha. Here they are, and they have been here for a really long time. I see a sign up there all the way at the top that says for rent. And I've got to tell you, if you rent that place, I know for sure there's a spiral staircase in there, no elevator, and it's got to be loud at night. And here's a beautiful home entirely covered in slate, and that tells us whoever owned it had some means. It was also a popular style, but only if you could afford it. And there are lovely statues, sculpted characters on the facade. Haha, funny, Bruce. They get a lot of care, you know. So you can see that these statues here, for example, this one is Mary, Joseph, and baby Jesus. Their faces have been damaged for some of them. You see how the faces are missing? And you might think this happened during the French Revolution, but this actually happened during the Protestant Wars in the 1560s. The Protestants occupied Tours for a while, and they did damage a lot of the statues, and the ones on top are fine. Voila. And right here is the side of one of the houses you just saw, the half-timbered look. There are different styles of half-timbered homes. I try and show some of them on my tours in the city. There you go, friends. I'm going to flip it around and say a quick hello before I pick a table and a drink. Coucou. It's good to see you, or almost see you. Thank you for joining me in tour today, downtown, by the bridge, Pont Wilson. Some of you are in France visiting, I know. Some of you have stopped by here, and I was thrilled to see you in person. And some of you are watching this virtually, of course, from wherever you are in the world, or you'll be watching later the replay. So thank you for joining me today, like always. I'll be heading to the United States on my vacation today, flying tomorrow. And I'll come back in September, ready to tackle a new season with France with Véro, online French conversation classes, virtual tours, and a few little surprises I have for my patrons in the fall. So I'll be sharing more of that later. But for now, I guess I'm going to say au revoir from the beautiful city of Tours. À bientôt les amis.